Welcome to this video. In this video, I will share my study of Nicholas Roerich and his paintings. And we will go through some of his writings and the explanation of what his paintings were all about. Just give me a second. So Nicholas and Helena Roerich were both Russian Theosophists, and Nicholas was born in 1874, and they were both married in 1901. They traveled first from Russia to Finland for health reasons, and then went to America when there was the Russian Revolution, and a lot of the elite were being attacked. They were both of spiritual inclinations and remained a loving couple till the end. Helena Roerich translated The Secret Doctrine and the Mahatma Letters from English to Russian. She also wrote The Foundations of Buddhism. It's a book worth reading for anybody on this path. Nicholas wrote Leaves from Moria's Garden, which is equivalent to The Voice of Silence, Shambhala, and Altai Himalaya, among many other books that can be read for free online. This is one of his early works. He made nearly 7,000 works of art. And one of his passions was to create a cultural Red Cross, which was later called the Roerich Pact. And the idea was that all the architectural monuments and the art and culture of museums should be safeguarded from the World War that was imminent, and World War I and II. And finally, this Roerich Pact was signed by 35 countries before the World War II, not before the World War I. During his time in Russia, he made many mosaics. And what I have done now is that I have segregated Roerich's paintings into 5 categories. One is of saints, Maitraya, Shambhala, mystical symbolisms, and the 5th of mountains, lakes, and rivers. That's the natural sceneries. But they all have deep mystical meanings and symbolic meanings. He used to use tempera most of the time, though he also used oil. Tempera is a form of egg white mixed with water with colors, and which dries faster. So that is how he made 7,000 works of art. Here you see the first saint picture, which is Prophet Muhammad on the Mount of Hira conversing with the angel Gabriel. The one thing that is common in his works is he made several paintings from the same sketch. He used to make pencil sketches first, and then made several paintings experimenting on different backgrounds and sceneries. Now, both Roerichs were devotees of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. And here you see Ramakrishna in an unusual surrounding. This is another style of Roerich, where he put the figures in different surroundings, especially the saints that you see here. Another picture of the same theme, Bhagwan Ramakrishna. Here you see Krishna. Now, Krishna is something you always picturize in Vrindavan or those kinds of surroundings. But here you see it in the background of Himachal. And Himachal, Kulu, Nagar, the town of Nagar, was the place where Roerich finally died. He lived for 20 years. He and his wife lived for 20 years from 1927 to 1947 in India. And here Krishna Leel. The word Leel refers to the Russian god of love. So he's combined these 2 figures, and this ethereal picture is emerging. Now, as I told earlier, that the Roerich Pact was a cultural Red Cross, and he created a banner for it, a flag for it, which here this Madonna is holding. And this flag was meant to be hung in all the cultural places during the World War II, where there were important things to preserve. So this pact was signed by 35 countries before the World War II under the President Franklin Roosevelt, American president, and 35 other country leaders. Now here you see the Madonna, and she symbolizes the rising of the woman in humanity. Now another picture here is And We See, and you can not see anything but Christ here. And that is how, Nicholas picturized that he was everywhere. That is what this means. In his book Altai Himalaya, Roerich writes extensively of Jesus' visit to Ladakh, his teachings to the mountain people. He found many evidences, stories, myths in the mountain people of Jesus' stay there. So Jesus is painting against this mountain background, again, an unusual background for Jesus. Here you see the temptation of Christ. Here you see a dark figure, a devil figure, which is pointing to earth and to the humanity or to that city, whereas Christ remains high on the mount with his moral teachings. Zarathustra, here you have on the rightmost a figure of Zarathustra pouring fire from his urn, and this fire is being poured on a figure which you can see down is a profile of man with this pointed thing referring to the mind of man. So Zarathustra is supposed to have brought the wisdom for the enlightenment of man, and that is what this symbolizes. Once again, another picture of Krishna against the beautiful background of the Himalayas. Nagarjuna, the conqueror of the serpent, and this refers to Nagarjuna, who was supposed to have brought the wisdom of the serpents, the Nagas, from under the sea, where Buddha was supposed to have hidden it. And this painting symbolizes that theme. Then you have Padmasambhava, who's also an 8th century Buddhist scholar, and he was supposed to have brought tantric form of Buddhism to Sikkim and Bhutan. And so you see a large figure over here, over a smaller figure, possibly representing Sikkim and Bhutan. And this is the Yarling River that is flowing in the background against the Sangpo Gorge, which is the longest gorge in the world, found in Tibet. And this river flows from the Mount Kailasha itself. So you can see that in the background. There are many mystical meanings to these paintings. Here you have Buddha the Conqueror. He is supposed to be one never combines the word conqueror with Buddha, but here it refers to conquering the lower self, and you have the cave of the lower self, dark emotions and desires, which Buddha is conquering with his light. And you see this cave is illuminated by his physical presence. There's no other source of light but him. Then you have him Nicholas making saints from the Russian lore, like Saint Pantaleon and Vasilisa. Tsongkhapa, the beauty of this painting lies that there are only 2 colors in this painting. One is this cobalt blue in different colors, and ultramarine blue, I would say. And you have this yellow figure meditating of Tsongkhapa. Milarepa, the one who hearkened. The word hearken means to hear. So you have a figure here hearing the wisdom. And he was a murderer who, after hearing the wisdom of the Buddha, was completely changed. Joan of Arc, here, if you see, that is the style of Nicholas. He made the figures very small and the backgrounds are very large. And you have a small figure here burning on the stake of the Joan of Arc. On the right, you have a figure kneeling towards the saint. And here you have the saint with the mother, the divine mother. And the painting is so beautiful. The combination of the stained glass effect in the central panel and these 3 is extraordinary. Then you have Saint Francis, who was an Italian saint, and he was known for his forgiveness and non-judgmental nature. And he's holding a pigeon in his hand and watching these birds with the nest in the center. And these pigeons and this nest symbolizes hope for mankind. You see how tall the figure is here, unlike his other paintings. Confucius Affair in the background of the Chinese mountains. Tablets of Law. To understand this, you'll have to see the small place where I'm showing you the arrow. This is Moses who's carving the 10 Commandments on stone. Again, the beauty of these clouds, like a new wave which is coming to humanity, new wave of morality coming to humanity. Again, this tall figure of one more saint, Saint Sergius. To understand this painting, he is a Russian saint, and you have to see at the bottom here, you see helmets of soldiers marching with their weapons, and they are all going to war. And here the Saint Sergius is praying for the human soul, which is represented by the small temple that he is holding in his left hand, to Christ and to all the churches in the background. So there are many other symbols in this painting, and it's extraordinary, this beauty of this work. Charaka was, of course, well known to the Indians, because he was a chief contributor of Ayurveda and edited the Charaka Samhita, again in the beautiful surroundings of the Himalayas, searching for some herbs. And look at the colors, just 2 colors. yellow and blue and extraordinary. Now we come to the second kind of Roerich's paintings, which are the paintings on Maitraya. Maitraya is supposed to be the future avatar, who's also the ruler of Shambhala. Shambhala is the place where the white brotherhood is supposed to live. It is a mythical place, and he's supposed to appear, that is Maitraya is supposed to appear for the destruction of the wicked and the renovation of creation and restoration of purity. Now in 1920, Helena Roerich was contacted by Master Maurya. Roerich and Helena were entrusted with the task of creating a new land for the lamas of Mongolia and Tibet, as it was supposed to be the sanctuary for the anticipated trouble of Tibet. They were to do this by an expedition to Central Asia. On the left, you see a map where this is the route they took, which they went all around from northern India through Srinagar, Tibet, Ladakh, and all that up to the Central Asia, Mongolia, and then back to India. Now, they were given a special magical and mysterious stone called the Chintamani, and it was supposed to be placed under a new temple which was supposed to be formed in Central Asia, which would protect mankind against the impending war that was expected, that is a World War II. And the masters were trying to avoid the World War II through this whole idea. Now let's look at the paintings that they say they saw. Most of these paintings are figures that they actually saw on their trip to Ladakh. So here you have a sculpture, and you have Maitraya on the way here. Another picture of the same kind. Now here you have a group of people praying to a Tanka picture in which Maitraya has been painted. And so it says banner of the future. That is what is anticipated. In Indian Hindu mythology, the next avatar is called the Kalki avatar, which is the same as Maitraya. Here you see him riding on a horse, and that is the myth that he's going to come riding on a horse. And you see a small figure here on the left, bending in obeisance. White Burkhan of Altai, this is another name for Maitraya. Order of the Richten Jaipur, which is the Mongolian version of Maitraya. So now we come to the third kind of paintings, which is on Shambhala. Shambhala refers to this mythical place where the white brotherhood is supposed to live. Here it is represented by the white mountains that you see, a figure watching. And there are many paintings with this kind of a theme, where message from Shambhala, where this person carrying this bow and arrow is supposed to represent a message that has come from those higher sources. One more of those same arrow letter, it says. Now this is the way to Shambhala. This is a famous painting of his. At midnight, the light of Shambhala. This painting is extraordinary, that you see that Shambhala gives so much energy to the whole world of peace and of harmony. That is what this painting symbolizes. Now we come to the section which is the largest, which is paintings on mythical themes. This is a well-known painting to many theosophists. In this is a painting Nicholas Roerich dedicated to HPB. He made it 1 year before he died in 1946. And this is here HPB is represented by this Indian woman who's opening the door to this messenger who's a master. And he has in his hand this kind of a gesture, which represents working towards self-improvement. That is a blessing for working towards self-improvement. And here he is coming at the outside of this, coming from the outside in this beautiful temple. This is a depiction of Chintamani, that sacred stone that was mentioned earlier, being carried by the Lungta wind on a horse, on a white horse. Now, Agni Yoga was the name of the new teachings that were conveyed by Master Maurya to Helena Roerich. And it is a refinement of theosophic life. And the books, Leaves of Maurya's Garden, written by Roerich, part 1 and 2 can be read to understand this further. Here you have a figure which actually is being, which represents Helena herself, and in a Oriental attire, carrying a lamp, light in her hand. And this very mystical and beautiful scene at the back, where everything is rising up to the higher self. Now this is Arahat, a figure in this cave, meditating, where there is a fierce looking animal outside. Book of Life, here you have somebody who looks like a saintly figure reading the Book of Life in this very Sylvan surrounding. Ashram, Ceylon, this reminds me of the Theosophical Society in Chennai. Here you have the figure of Buddha, who is removing the arrow from this deer on the right, and you have Devdatta on the left pursuing the arrow, pursuing the deer. And Devdatta in the story comes to tell Buddha that please give me this deer, I am the one who shot it. So Buddha says, no, I am the one who saved it, and the deer must go to the one who saved it, not to the one who shot it. Again, the background is so unusual, not the background that we would expect of Bihar, where the Buddha was. Here you have a picture of a painting of a saint who's experiencing ecstasy. Kuan Yin, this is the female version of Avalokiteshvara Padmapani. She is the mother of compassion, and she is supposed to hear all the cries of pain and unhappiness that humankind are giving. So here you have a woman listening. That is what is symbolic here. Hermit, you have a figure of a hermit in a small hut amidst this beautiful landscape. Another ecstasy. And if you see this painting carefully, you have this old man with this long beard. Behind that, there are mountains. And in one part of the mountains, you see there's a profile of an old man. It's almost like this man has meditated so long here that even the mountains start looking like him. Now, Fairest city, messenger of enemies. This was painted before the World War I, where he was seeing that so many cities are going to be destroyed in the World War I. This was, so he represents here that the good, that is all that is good and fair and pure, that is this white city, cannot be destroyed by all the fire of hatred and anger all around. So many of his paintings were supposed to be prophetic. He had visions, and he was painting those visions. So you have even devils, you see these dragons in this fire. They're all trying to destroy the city, which is looking untouched by the flames. From beyond, this is a famous painting of his. There's on his left, there is a figure, on the left, there is a figure of a man seated and looking towards this master figure coming across this river. And of course, coming across represents something which is coming from a much higher and purer realm to down to earth, and crossing a bridge to come to earth. And that is what this represents from beyond this painting. Holy Lake, friends of travelers. This might represent some people whom they met along the way, who supported them on their journey. Book of Wisdom, you see a man who's meditating and reading a book in this beautiful surroundings. Santana, this refers to the Buddhist term which means continuity. In this painting, a sage is sitting in the mountains and he has crossed the river of life, and he is probably on the other shore of nirvana. And this is what this painting represents, that life's continuity can be stopped if one goes towards nirvana. Path to Kailasha, burning the darkness, pearl of searching, morning prayer, island of rest. This is the Potala Palace, of course, in Tibet. Light of Asia, paths to Kailasa again. Light on the Ganges. You see a small figure of a woman holding a lamp in her hand, and you see these lights and the starlit sky against the scenery of the Shiva temple, Vishwanath temple in Banaras. Lotus. Here you have a floating yogi holding a lotus in his hand, himself in a lotus posture, floating in the water of a lotus pond, which you can see on the right, against the background of all these caves. You see that he is he's a yogi who has gained some siddhis. Mother of the World. This painting is very famous of his, and he himself has portrayed himself and his wife on the right and left in small figures. You have the Mother of the World seated calmly, and humanity is represented by this river with these fishes which are flowing. And there are angels all around in this background. Another picture of Mother of the World. This is an early painting of his, and we are opening the gates. Sometimes it refers to the opening the inner self to higher things, and we are trying. Om Mani Padme Hum. What a beautiful painting this is. On Himalayan peaks. So some of his paintings are really simple, very few lines, very few strokes, but they're mesmerizing. Sage. Remember. Now this represents actually him in this on this horse. And these two figures on the right, of two women that you see, represent his mother and his sister, whom he left behind in Russia. So this represents him. It's actually remember with an exclamation mark, saying that remember that they are still there at the back in Russia. Russian Easter, this extraordinarily beautiful painting where you can see a large crowd gathered with lamps in their hands in this starlit sky, celebrating Easter. She who leads here, the she refers to Helena Roerich, his wife, and she was the more spiritual of the two, and she was always helping and guiding him to seek the higher path. So you have him holding onto her garb, her dress, she who leads. Song of the morning, song of the waterfall, star hero. This represents our aspirations to aspire for higher things, for heroic things. Sabagan of Tashiding. This is one of the most important monasteries in Sikkim, in Tashiding. And if you see the picture of this place, you will find that this has only taken a few ideas from that picture. Most of the painting is his own, his imagination, the additions that he makes. Even the size of the monastery is different. This is his very last painting, which he made on the day he died, 1947, and it's his teacher's order. Here you have a white mountain seagull who's come with a message for him, for an order for him on the last day of his life. Oldest and wisest, philosopher's silence, wanderer from the resplendent city that is him, who's wandering and is going to go back to that beautiful city of life. Works of the Mother of God. Here you see the Mother of God who's helping these two figures. And one is a male and one is a female. Walk along this rope. When this whole fort represents heaven, and down below is all hell. And then you see these evil-looking characters all on this mount, dark colors, devil-like characters. And it represents us moving from all our negative emotions and negative lives to a positive and higher state of mind. Bompa, the simplicity and beauty of the colors. Drops of light. This echoes the Buddhist saying that a vessel fills drop by drop, like the mind fills with wisdom. So one must continuously and constantly read and think about higher and better things. White stone Chintamani, horse of happiness. The miracle. This is one of his most beautiful paintings. Here you have these figures who are bending down, and there is something which is beyond this bridge, which is shining. And these people are bending down in anticipation of that shining presence, which has not yet come against this denuded valley. This valley represents our lower selves, and the qualities which we build in ourselves is what we are going to take across to this valley to when we meet this higher beings. That is what this painting means. Now, in Nicholas's words, art will unify all humanity. Art is one, indivisible. Art has its many branches, yet all are one. Art is the manifestation of the coming synthesis. Art is for all. Everyone will enjoy true art. The gates of the sacred source must be wide open for everybody, and the light of art will influence numerous hearts with new love. At first, this feeling will be unconscious, but after all, it will purify human consciousness. And how many young hearts are searching for something real and beautiful? So give it to them. Bring art to the people where it belongs. We should have not only in museums, theaters, universities, public libraries, railway stations, and hospitals, but even in prisons decorated and beautified. then we shall have no more prisons. The only way one can explain that a person can produce 7,000 works of art and where did that energy come from is that he was blessed by the masters who knew that he had a pure and beautiful soul and needed that energy. So now we come to the last section, which is all mountains. And here I will stop speaking and you can watch these paintings in blissful silence. Thank you for watching.